What's up, brother? What's up, sister? My name Bill. I went to prison when I was 19 for making poor decisions. Spent 9 years, got out at the age of 28. During my time in prison, I've seen and been around people that were sexually assaulted. I've seen murders with my own two eyes, brutal murders, people getting stabbed up. I've seen so much corruption. I've seen people get so depressed and commit suicide. My brothers and sisters, I'm just encouraging y'all to the best of your ability, try to do the right thing, man. Stay out them jails, stay out them prisons. It's not worth it because you could go in and never make it out. What up, though, y'all? It's your boy Bill. I got somebody with me today, man, and we're going to do this interview. It's very interesting, very enlightening, and, go along with the overall giving somebody some motivation, inspiration to do the right thing, stay out of trouble. We're going to take off. I got somebody here. What's your name, man?
SonnyVonCleveland.
SonnyVonCleveland.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Where are you from, Sonny?
Well, I mean, I was born and raised in Michigan, but then after a wonderfully long stretch of incarceration, I moved to Ohio. I lived in Cleveland for about 5 years, and I've spent the last 5 years here in Palm Springs, California. So it's kind of a crazy word, but.
Oh, okay. Hey, that's interesting. That's what's up. I'm from Michigan. I'm from Detroit.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm from right here, man, right in the middle of it. Right in the middle of it. It's got a little town called Carson City, man, a little one-horse country podunk town.
Right. Yeah.
Got a lot of friends in Detroit, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Got some good buddies out there. I mean, I did 18 years incarcerated, so you end up, unfortunately, a majority of men that are incarcerated in the MDOC are from the Detroit area. So it's you end up meeting a lot of people.
So that's where you did your time at in Michigan?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So how I stumbled upon Sonny, I think I was just laying down scrolling TikTok one day. I saw like a short clip where you were just talking about like trauma and stuff that you've been through in prison. And I just thought it was interesting. And I went looking at your TikTok and I decided to reach out to you. And I'm glad that you hit me back. So I'm not sure if you had a chance to check out the channel when I sent you the link.
I have not actually had a chance to jump in and look at it. I'm horribly busy in my life. So.
Right. Okay. No, that's fine. So what I do, man, I did 9 years in a Georgia prison.
Oof.
And I've been out about going on for a couple more months to make 4 years. I started making these videos about the things I experienced that I've been through in prison, that I've seen. And the overall motivation behind it is to steer somebody else away from a lifestyle that they think is okay, or that they think is like, oh, this cool prison ain't that bad, because it really is.
No, it really is.
You know what I'm saying?
Unfortunately, the narrative it seems to be like it's a rite of passage for young men to go through, and there's this image that we have that, oh man, you're gonna be all right. You're gonna go in there and you're gonna do some cook-ups with your homeboys and maybe do some gambling and some fighting, and but you're gonna be all right, man. This is how you become a man, right? Like the curtain is so heavily pulled over the long-lasting effects of what incarceration does to you, the things that you see, the things that you endure, the things that you go through. Like, it's lifelong trauma that can really destroy your soul, man, if you don't get yourself on a path that can get fixed, man. So kudos to you, bro, for doing what you do, man. You're saving lives, man, and that's an important thing, man.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate that, bro. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you said on your TikTok that at the age of 7, you were a convicted felon.
Yeah. In 1988, my brother and I broke into a church out by the house that we lived in, and we were arrested. And I believe, I mean, we're going through a process now with, I have some big presentations coming up. I work with a retired law enforcement officer, and he and I have a new production coming up soon. And we are actually in the process of digging up all the paperwork for this. But in 1988, in the 6th District Court, 6B District Court of Montcalm County, Michigan, Judge Edward L. Skinner sentenced me to 60 days probation for my first felony for breaking and entering and larceny from a building in 1988. And I believe when I look back at it, I get it a lot. I mean, there's so many uneducated people that jump in and will comment. And I'm sure you're going to get some of them here. They're going to come in and be like, oh, they don't charge 7-year-olds with felonies. They don't anymore. This is 1988 we're talking about. And I believe that they did this because my mother was this big anti-political figure who constantly was protesting against local law enforcement. And I think they did it more so out of spite for her than it was actually like wanting to arrest a kid. They didn't really see the effects that they were about to have on this young child. And that's what it was. I'm not the only child that was convicted of a felony back then. Like it happened to a lot of us in my little small little town in our little county, right? Like I'm not special, right? Like there's other people. My brother was charged with a felony. He was 8 years old.
So let me ask you this: at 7 and 8, what is it that like? What made y'all say one day we about to break into a church? Like, what was the motive?
It's really more innocent than anything. Like we lived in this house that was it was right behind the high school that's in Carson City, and behind that there's baseball fields. And they're dugouts. And we used to go play in the baseball dugouts all the time. And right across the street from that is St. Mary's Cathedral. It's a Catholic church. And we were over there playing in the dugout. And across the street, they're having like some kind of, I don't know, some kind of festival or whatever you want to call it, whatever the Catholics do. It could have been a wedding for all I know. But all these kids are out there with the adults and they're having fun. They're playing games. They're out in the little grassy area. And we're not allowed to go over there. We can't. We're not Catholic, so we weren't allowed to attend that. And then when they were done, we watched them all go through a back door down into the basement, and we wanted some of these things. We wanted to have some pudding. We wanted to have some snacks and stuff. So we went over to the corner of this building, and the windows they're those windows that pull out, right? So my brother tried to pull it open. It didn't work, so he kicked it, and it broke. And we just crawled in through the window, went in there, we grabbed up some pudding cups and some playing cards and some other snacks and stuff, came back out, went over and sat down at the dugout right back across the street. And just we're playing with cards and eating these snacks. And the cops rolled up 15 minutes later, and put us in handcuffs and drove us 1 block back up to the house. And that was about it, right? Like there's no criminal intent there. There's no criminal capacity in a 7 or 8 year old. We don't have that capacity. We just didn't even realize what we were doing at the time was something you're not supposed to do, right? Like we were just trying to go in and get some of these snacks, right? So it's not like we went set out to break the law, right?
Right. So you did the full 60 days?
Yeah. And so behind the scenes, I was being abused a lot by a lot of men. My uncle was a primary abuser. My mother's boyfriend was an abuser. A couple of her family friends were an abuser of mine. And I was just a very horribly molested child. And when I was put on probation, all that stopped. Like because you couldn't take us anywhere. Like we were on the probation back then is more like a grounding, I guess, for kids. Like we were not allowed to go anywhere, or maybe we were. My mom just didn't take us anywhere. But I wasn't being abused in this time frame. And so when I got off probation, we went back to my grandmother's house, which is where my uncle lived. And then the abuse started again. And her friend Tim Klinger's coming over and abuse started again. Her boyfriend Daryl come back to the house and abuse starts up again. And so in my young mind, I'm like, okay, if I'm on probation, I'm safe. I'm not going to be getting abused. So I went out and I think I stole a pedal bike was the second thing I was convicted for. It was like a 3-wheel bike with a basket. I stole it from the neighbor and I broke it and destroyed it. And I got charged with destruction of property and larceny. And that was just a misdemeanor, but back on probation for 60 days. Right. So in my own mind, I developed this self-preservation mechanism by getting into trouble. If I get into trouble, I'll get grounded. I'll get an ass whooping from my mother and I get put on probation. I don't even know what probation is at that point. Like you're not reconciling the cause and effect of criminal behavior with punishment. All I know is in my young mind, I'm safe, right? And so I developed this, and this became the course of my life. From 7 years old until I was 15, I was convicted of 12 felonies and a handful of misdemeanors. I broke the law all the time.
All right. So that was kind of like a protection barrier for you.
Yeah.
So speaking of abuse, what age do you think you were the very first time you ever experienced any form of abuse in that manner?
So I have a book out about my life. And in that book, I recall the abuse at 5 years old from my uncle. And when we put the book out to press, I called my mother to clarify a date. And she informed me at that point, it actually started when I was 3. They discovered that my uncle was abusing both me and my brother because my brother had said something. And so their response to that was, we're going to get him mental health treatment and you're not allowed upstairs. And which to me baffles me. Like, why don't you like call the cops and get this man arrested? And why were we back in the house, period? But it was able to carry on until I was 10 years old. This guy was my primary abuser from the time I was 3 until I was 10. So 3 years old is when it first started.
Wow. Immediately from as early as you can remember, like you told your mom or whatever?
No, I didn't speak up. I guess apparently I had said something when we were 3. I just went along. I mean, I'm a 3-year-old. I can't have a conversation. And this is all basically, this is information from my mother. But apparently I had said, yeah, that, I was being abused too when I was 3 years old. But I didn't break out and tell anybody about my abuse until I was 10. There were threats. Obviously abusers make threats to kids. And so I'm looking at these people, like I'm not going to tell on you because you've threatened to hurt my whole family or hurt my mother or hurt my brother. And so I got into trouble and kept protecting myself in this twisted way of self-preservation. Right. So I never told anybody. It wasn't until I was 10. I was 10 years old and we had a drive-by done on our house, and we live out in the sticks, right? We're out in the country, so it's almost unheard of. But the guy I call my dad, his name was Al Bauer, had a lot of enemies. He was a big brawler in our community, and he had a lot of enemies. And so the guy named John Horde came up and they shot through our house at like 2:00 in the morning. And I was sleeping on the couch, and the shotgun shells the shotgun come through the house, and it's grazed my back. So I had like the buckshot from the bullets went into my back, and my mom freaked out. And I don't know why I chose that moment, but in that moment is when I told my mother, like, my uncle is abusing me. And I only told on my uncle. I didn't tell on Tim or Daryl or any of the other guys that were involved, just told on my uncle. And I mean, it's very hard to kind of go back into that mentality and try to figure out why I said that in that moment. But that was when I said it. My mother immediately lost her mind, called the police. My uncle was arrested. There was a trial that ensued, and they put my uncle in prison for 15 years off of all that. Right. And then his threats came true, not the way that he was threatening, but they came true in the fact that my whole family fell apart. I was blamed by half of the family. The other half of the family didn't believe me. We didn't go back to any of the holiday functions at my grandmother's house like we had done my whole life. It was the rest of the family is going to go there for Thanksgiving, and then the day after Thanksgiving, we'll be able to go over there. And so it really shattered my sense of, I'm not going to tell on anybody else, because look at that. Like, I'm already an abused kid, and now I have all this extra added guilt that I've now destroyed our family. So I'm not going to tell on the other guys that are doing this.
Right. Was there any type of connection with like your uncle and the other abusers? I'm trying to see like.
I can't answer that honestly, because I don't know, but how is there not? If there's not, then I have to come to terms with the fact that my mother was complicit in my abuse. Otherwise, how do all these dudes know to molest this child? So either there's a pedophile ring, which the child abuse and pedophilia in that area is like the top in the country. It's so bad. Wow. My uncle was actually on the Michigan FBI predator list, #1 on the predator list after he got out of prison. So the guy still did it. And so I don't know if there was a ring or if it was my mother that was trafficking me to these dudes. I don't know. But I assume that they were all in contact with each other. Because, I mean, knowing what I know now, I work in the anti-trafficking and child exploitation space now. And these predators share this information. They do talk to each other. They have a safe haven that they come together to share information. So I'm imagining back in the 80s, that was probably quite similar. We didn't have the technology, obviously. So I'm imagining that they had these organizations where they would share information. I don't know. I can't really speak honestly to that, but That's my opinion. That's what I think.
Right. Yeah, and I asked that because I was just wondering, trying to make a connection with that.
Sure.
I know a lot of times when people go through stuff, they say that for whatever reason, it happening is their fault. Have you ever felt like that?
Most of my life, up until I was probably 28 years old, when I went through my metamorphosis in solitary confinement. Yeah. Most of my life, I blamed clearly, right? If this happened all this time, I'm doing something to attract these men to abuse me. And the fact that I'm not telling, now I'm feeling guilt and shame because I'm not telling that dichotomy that exists in your mind when you're going through this abuse, and you feel guilt, you feel shame, and it's debilitating for a victim.
Before we even continue, bro, I just want to tell you that I really appreciate you, bro, for even, bro, it's so many people that would never in their life openly speak about nothing like this.
I appreciate you acknowledging that. That's the problem. That's why I do what I do. That's why I'm so open about it. I get called a liar. I get called I'm full of shit. I'm none of that is going to detract me, because there are men, dude, the suicide rate in the time that you and I have been on this call, what have we been on here? 10 minutes already, 15 minutes. There have been over 15 men that have killed themselves because they carry shame. One man murders himself every freaking minute in this world, right? We lose over 500,000 men to suicide every year because men carry this shame. They have this big bravado, right? And I don't have to impress anybody. I don't have to impress you. I don't have to impress this guy. I don't give a shit what this guy thinks about me. I am doing this because there's so many dudes that don't feel safe sharing their pain or their trauma, bro. And it's every single one of us deserves to have a life filled with health, wealth, happiness, joy, love. We deserve that. And it doesn't make you soft. It doesn't make you weak. I'm not some weak dude. I'm not soft by any stretch of the imagination, right? I'm actually more free because of the fact that I wear the guilt and the shame doesn't bury me down, right? I don't have that stress in my life. And so if I can help another dude understand that it's okay to be courageous enough to talk about it, then that's the goal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I appreciate that, bro. So let's fast forward a little bit. How much time did you actually spend in prison?
Almost 18 years. I did 17 years and I don't know, 10, 11 months.
How old were you when you went in and that was it for the next 18 years?
No, I went in when I was 16. I was convicted of stealing a couple $1,000s out of the safe in my high school when I was 15. And the judge sent me to county jail for that for 6 months. And while I was there, all these other charges of breaking into houses, I stole a cell phone, or I had a stolen cell phone. I stole a pedal bike. I broke into a house. I chipped my name in the wall in the county jail, and they gave me a malicious destruction of state property over $100, which in 1997 was a felony. And for that, they sent me to prison when I was 16 years old. And I did 5.5 years, and then I got out in 2002, and I was out for about 20 months. I was a train wreck of a human being, and I got convicted of 15 more felonies, this time for, I was robbing drug dealers. I was in possession of guns. I had larceny of firearms, possession of firearms, home invasions. And that was a direct result of the 5.5 years I had just done, which it's so crazy how life circles itself around, because I went to the first private prison in Michigan, in Baldwin, in 1999 when it first opened up. And I was there for 2 years, almost 2 years, and left in July of 2001. And when I was taken back to the MDOC, I was at St. Louis level 4, and my bunkie was Keithon Green. They call him Terrible T. He was a member of the Young Boys Incorporated. He was one of the founding members of Young Boys Incorporated with Butch Jones and Big Meats and all them. And I recently done an interview on Ian Bick's podcast, and people were like, "Oh no, that's not possible. I know those guys, man. Those guys wouldn't have. He lying. And fun fact, his niece just hit me up the day before yesterday, thanking me for acknowledging him on that podcast. And I just talked to Terrible T yesterday, and now have his text, and we're going to be doing a live video together. But this guy, he really made an impact on me as when I went into his cell, I was 20 years old. I was this young, hot-headed gangbanger. Like, I was hard to handle. And he honed that in for me and was like, listen, bro, you're young, you're hot-headed, you're reactive. You got to be smooth, man. You got to be smart. You got to be calculated. And this guy really honed me in from being this hot-headed gangbanger to like being a more smooth gangster, like a criminal. And he was the one that kind of got me fueled to like do big boy crime. Like, when you get out, you if you're going to do a crime, it's got to be worth it. There's got to be a financial gain to it. And while his advice was shit, the guy was a really big impact in my life. And I'm just so grateful that full circle, here he is, he's back in my life, and now he's free and he wants to make a difference using his life experiences as well. And I'm just so blessed. And rest in peace, Butch Jones. Apparently he just passed away. So they're going through some funeral things for that right now, for Butch Jones. So, but then, yeah, I went back for 12 more years, 11 years, 11 months, in 2004, September 2nd, 2004, and went back until August 16th, 2016.
Okay. Oh, so you met him on your first bid?
Yep.
Okay. So you've been out about 10 years now.
I'm coming up to my 10th year anniversary this August.
Congratulations.
So, thank you, my friend. It's been a hell of a walk, but it's gotten to the point where I'm like, I have done enough in those 10 years that I can put the prison past behind me, and let's focus on what's been happening in those 10 years and what we're doing now, because the goal here is to make that significant impact. Let's be honest. The industrial prison complex in the United States is modern day slavery. That's all it is. It's literally, it's human cattle farming, modern day slavery. It's a business for the people that own these prisons and the side of the government. And it's on us. One thing prison taught me is that they are not going to fix the problem. They need the problem. The problem gives them a paycheck, right? And that's all we are to them.
That's very true.
It's on guys like us, like you and me, that are taking our experiences to try to make a difference. It's on guys like us to fix that. Just like in prison, it's the old heads that come and try to school the younger cats. Like, hey, listen, like, you don't have to go through prison being violent, involved in gang fights and gang warfare and gambling. And you don't have to do that. You can go in there and educate yourself and walk through and come out a better person. The institution is not going to guide you down that path. They want you to fail.
Right. Yeah. That's how they get paid. If those bunks not full, they're not making no money.
100%. It's a business, right? And that's customer retention. They don't have to. That's why you see, like, especially the racism that exists in that level, right? Like, they will write these young black men tickets for having their shirt untucked in the chow hall. And then when that guy turns around and says, man, listen, it's just my shirt, then they write him a major misconduct for disobeying a direct order or an 036 for an out of place. And then he has to go to the parole board, and the parole board doesn't see the pettiness of that ticket. They just see that you have a major misconduct. So in their mind, well, you can't stay out of trouble. So now this kid gets a 12-month flop for having his shirt untucked in a chow hall. Like, what sense does that make? That is not rehabilitation. That's not correction. They don't do it to the pedophiles because they know the pedophiles are repeat customers. They're going to give them 2-3 years and let them out. They know he's coming back, but they're going to give the young black kid that had, a gram of cocaine in his pocket 50 years because he might go in there and learn something and get out and fix himself and be a contribution to society. Well, we can't have that, can we?
Nah, that's real, bro.
Yeah, you'll get me heated on this, man. It's a horrible topic, the way that they're treating humans, man.
It's terrible. So were you on your first or your second bid when you went through what you went through this? Everybody watching and that shit.
It was my first week on my first bid when I was 16.
First week on your first bid.
Yeah.
You were 16?
I was 16 years old. 17 days after I turned 16 is when I got incarcerated. And I went to quarantine in February of 98. And that's when that happened. They can read about it, or you can go check other things. But I mean, these two dudes ran into my cell, and there's a lot of people that are going to pick it apart. And this will be the hottest part of your comment section right here, where it wouldn't have happened to me. I'd have died for mine. There's okay. Well, I don't have nothing to prove to anybody. And yeah, man, they violated me in the worst way. And I, out of just desperation, man, I knew I had to do something, or this is going to be the course. Nobody saw it. So it didn't even, it's not like somebody else saw that. It's just in my own mind, I'm thinking, if I don't do something, I'm going to be a victim for the rest of my time here. Like, I'm going to be that guy. And I refused that. So I took the segregation pencils. They're about that big, and they're like golf pencils, right? And they're hard. So I wrapped my shoestring around them, and I just had this little thing, and I ran across the hallway when the guy came back from chow, and I just started stabbing the hell out of him in the face. And I mean, it's not going to do a lot of damage, right? They're pencils, man. It probably broke on the very first one. It was more of the force that did anything, but it was cutting his flesh, and there's blood all over the place. And yeah, that was in that moment, I realized, like, this is how I'm going to survive. I have to be stronger than my fear. And I'm going to have to do this. And so that is what started the path of being involved in gang activity and going down that pathway for me. And I ended up indulging in gang activity heavily from that point forward for a very long time.
Right. And the gang activity was it a result of that happening? Like, I just need to make sure this never happens again? Or
it was self-protection 100%, right? And it was, I just happened that all the guys that I was in there with, they saw that. They didn't see what happened to me. They saw, I mean, I'm in the middle of the hallway, and inmates, right? As soon as something jumps off, they're all standing up, just watching. So it kind of creates a wall in this hallway, right? We were in 72 West in Riverside Quarantine, and we're at the end of the hallway. It's a long way down from the bubble. And these guys basically are building me a wall as I'm going in. And then I'm running back across the hall and shut my door. When you hear keys jingling, the COs are running, right? And so they saw that. And when I got to the next facility, I was on the bus, the transfer bus going into our actual facility in Lapeer. My bunkie was the guy that was riding next to me, and you could see on the manifesto who you're going into a cell with. And he's like, we're going to be bunkies, blah, blah, blah. It was solid as hell what you did back there. I'm glad I got a solid bunkie, because I'm not a sex offender. I'm not a rat. I've just got property crimes at this point. And when we got in the cell, he peeled his shirt off and he had gang tattoos. I had no idea what gangs were at that point, right? Like, the most I knew about gangs was Bloods and Crips banging on wax, right? Like the old CD, right? Like the gangbangers I knew was Snoop Dogg and everybody from Death Row. That was a gang to me. Like, I had no idea about it. And then he broke down what it was and how it looked. And to me, it was very alluring as well, because not only am I going to have guys that are going to ride for me, so that's a source of protection, but it's it's a brotherhood, right? Like, they feed each other, they take care of each other. There's that camaraderie that exists. And I really wanted that. So to be a part of that, you have to put in work, and I had no worries about putting in the work. Like, I'm more afraid of being victimized than I am of stabbing somebody. So I'm just gonna go do that. And and then you're starting to get into fights every day. They train for this, right? Like, we're gonna go in the cell, and you're gonna go catch a fade with one of the brothers. We're going to do body shots, right? If we don't, then now you're going to go full on. Or if you fall out with somebody, we're going in the cell and we're going to handle business. And then you just learn how to fight, right? You learn how to stop being afraid to fight. Even if you can't fight good, you still go in there, you swing for the fences, right? You go get it. And so it just became every day is this type of thing. And now we're engaged with the opposition from other gangs. And I mean, there's fights, there's stabbings. It's real, right? It's prison, man. It's not 60 days in on A&E, man. It's actually prison life. Right. Ain't none of these heads going to do an interview with Katie Couric on A&E or locked in, man. Like, that doesn't happen.
I wanted to tell you before I even get to the next question, before you started, you said, there's going to be people in the comments, I know this and this. Bro, one thing that I always tell them, and I've been doing YouTube almost 4 years now, I still tell them to this day, you cannot tell me what you would do until you're placed in that situation. 100%. And a lot of people, they be laughing at it. They think it's a joke. But if you sitting here chilling, just writing, and I walk up and smack you in your face, you cannot honestly tell me what you're going to do, because in that moment, bro, you don't know what you're going to do.
You don't know what you're going to do.
Tell me what you think you're going to do, But
Right.
until you really, in a situation, feeling the way, that feeling feels, you don't really know how you would respond, bro. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt. And there, I mean, listen, we if you've been there, you've seen it too. I've seen the toughest men get humbled. Right? You don't have to be a coward to get humbled, bro. Like I've
Absolutely.
seen dudes that can fight, dudes that are not afraid, dudes that will go down through there and they still get humbled, right? Because anybody can get caught at any minute. You're still made of flesh and bone, my man. Right? Like
Absolutely.
you're not iron. Right.
Right. Absolutely. So during the rest of your first bid, along with the entirety of your second bid, have you ever ran across the two guys that violated you again? Did you ever see them again?
Nope.
Never seen them.
And I mean, I couldn't even tell you who they were. Like we could be sitting across from each other. I have no idea who they are. I don't remember.
Right.
I mean, you got to imagine this is a very volatile moment in a young 16-year-old child's life.
Right.
I
Right.
barely remember hardly anything, right? And so people like to nitpick every little thing, like, "Oh man, those doors don't slide." They didn't say they slid. They're automatic doors. They hit a button. So you must be lying because those doors don't slide. Like, bro, it's for people that have not been through it. You can't imagine what it does to your mind, right? Like
Right.
it does horrible shit to your brain, in your memory, in your life. It's very horrible and tragic, man. Like
Right.
and there will be people that say it, but I've come to find most of the people that jump into there with the negativity in the comment sections, they're either the people that have been abused themselves and they haven't come to terms with it and they don't know how to talk about it, or you're a potential predator, right? If you can sit and laugh and make fun of somebody who's been raped and abused, you got some issues, man. like you need to really sit down and think about yourself, right? Like,
And then you got this thing nowadays that they're calling trolls, man. You got some people
oh
that
yeah, oh
they
yeah,
genuinely just want to get a giggle out of something. So they may believe you 100%, and they'll comment you lying just so you can
yeah,
reply to it. You just got
yeah.
to ignore that type of stuff,
And that's
bro.
what you
Get
do.
your
Like you just don't engage, right? Fuel needs or fires need a fuel, right? So if you don't engage in, listen, elephants don't care what ants are doing, bro. Period.
yeah, you get your therapy, bro. Tell your story, and it don't matter. I know I told a story once where a guy hit me, and I was close to the door with the little metal things, and I passed out, bro. And I was talking about it on live. And one dude was like, "Oh, you lying because you said he came this way, and then you said you looked up and he was swinging from this motherfucker." I don't remember like
Right,
all the details. I just know I got hit and I passed the fuck out.
right. And,
You know
and when
what
you
I'm saying?
if you've ever been knocked out, you really don't remember what happened
Yeah,
the 30 seconds before you got knocked out, right?
absolutely.
And you're just trying to piece together for people so you can paint the picture and put people in the environment with you, right? And we don't worry about the nitpickers, man. That those are the people that are too afraid to tell their stories or to own their stories, or again, your potential predators.
Right, absolutely. And damn, you were in the county jail or in the prison at 16.
Well, both. I mean, I started in the county jail, but I
Okay,
was there for 6 months and then went to prison.
okay.
Like it was a
Bro,
different world back then.
bro, in '98, I was 4 years old, bro. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was a
I
while
just
ago.
turned 32 a couple days ago.
Well, hey, happy birthday, my friend.
Appreciate it. Let me see. Okay, so you were 16 years old. You said like very first time you started going through things was 3. So at 16, was that like that was the last time you ever dealt with any form of trauma in like a sexual type of way?
The last time I ever had sexual trauma, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the moment I decided I am never going to be a victim again, ever.
Right.
And never again.
Right. That's great, bro. What I want to know, I know you say you joined the gang and you had to do this and do that, which I fully understand, but I want to know like mentally, bro, like how did that situation make you feel as a 16-year-old? You can't just leave and go home. I'm sure by that point, you understood I can't just run to mama. I'm in here, I'm around the big boy, heavy, things. So it's like I gotta be a man. I'm not fully a man yet, but I gotta be a man. So like what did that do to you mentally back then?
It turned me into a monster, right? Like people talk about soft asses and hard heads. And I literally started to put on these masks and go through this metamorphosis of becoming something different. Like I was not a violent kid. I've never been a violent kid. I'm a very loving, caring, kind, compassionate human being. I'm not a gangster. I'm not this thing. But you become what is necessary in the threat of fear, right? Like, and for me, seeing the effect, fear is an intoxicating thing, right? When you learn that you can make people afraid of you, it's intoxicating. And I put that mask on and wore it so long, I forgot how to take it off, right? Like I became the very thing that I was afraid of. And I got so lost, bro. I was so angry at the world, right? I blamed the world for my victimization. I couldn't reconcile in my mind why all these things have happened to me in my life. So it must be that I am just here to be the embodiment of evil. Like I used to call myself karma's enforcer. If I do something wrong or if I hurt you or if I violate you, you must have done something that makes the world want to, it's karma, right? And I'm the one that karma sends to right that balance. That's how lost I was in my mind. I thought for some reason that I was this godly ordained enforcer of karma, right? That I had to go through all that pain and endurance in the beginning because it's opposite, right? If you're a bad person, by logic, you should have bad karma and bad things should happen to you. But we know that that's not actually the case, right? It doesn't work. You can be a horrible human being your whole life and still become president or still have multi-millions of dollars and have a healthy, wealthy life. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, this is what I'm here to do. I am sent here to be this, to be the embodiment of this. And I got lost in that, bro, especially when you're surrounded by all these dudes don't have a conscience, man. I've seen guys beat to death over a freaking game of spades, right? Like they don't have an appreciation for life. And so I became that. I got surrounded by, this is my direct influence. I'm not out here hanging out with pedophiles or soft people, man. I'm fully immersed into gang warfare and gang politics and gang life. That became my existence. That's what I was. And then you opened the doors and let me out when I was 21 years old with no parole, no oversight, $75, 3 condoms. Good luck. I took that mentality with me, right? Like you get so lost in that you forget how to let it go. And that's the effect of trauma.
Right. Absolutely. Let me ask you this. When you were during the time where you like, I'm a monster right now, were you treating and looking at the predators or whatever a certain way? Like, because of what you've been through, did you ever like purposely like, I got to get your ass? That ain't got nothing to do with me, but still, just as what I'm doing.
Yeah. And it's something, it's such a dichotomy in your own mind to reconcile because so we hunted pedophiles. I mean, we're part of that group in prison that's like, he come in, run his paperwork. If it comes back, bro, we ran your license plate, my man. We know why you're here. This is your fate, right? Like, especially for me, I'm gonna get medieval on you, right? And it's not a proud moment of my life at all, but it's also one of those moments that I don't look back at with regret because I also see how lenient the world is, the society is, the justice system is on these predators that abuse kids, and to know that this man suffered for what he did somehow gives me some type of semblance of peace for the child that you have destroyed. And yeah, it's not a proud moment of my life, but it's something that, I have to live with for the rest of my life. But yeah, we definitely we're on a mission to exact revenge for kids.
Right. Absolutely. So it seems like you're doing pretty well now. At what point in your life did you say this shit ain't right? I'm not this monster that I'm behaving as if I got to stop.
Yeah. So in 2008, I was given 5 years in solitary confinement. Um, I went down. There was a really brutal assault that had taken place in Oaks, which is a level 4 prison up in Manistee, Michigan. And I was carted off to the hole, given 30 days detention for the assault, and then saw the security classification committee, and they're like, "Listen, we'll see you in 5 years, man. Go lay down." And you'll also get people in your comment section like, "They don't sentence people to the hole." Uh, Administrative segregation is indefinite. I know guys that have been in the hole for 15, 20 years in the same prison, right? In these level 4 prisons. They don't discriminate on what it's on you. Your behavior is what's going to dictate whether or not you're going to stay on AdSeg or not. So they told me, 60 months, we'll see you. But across the hallway was the guy that became my mentor, right? I call him Mallory Bates, not his real name. I'm not going to put his real name out there. I'm not going to jeopardize someone that helped me and get him messed up over prison politics. That's not going to happen. He's doing all day anyway. He's never getting out. So, but this guy, he changed my life, right? Like he called over every day. Hey, white boy, come talk to me. And when I finally broke down and talked to him, the guy just changed my life, right? The first thing he said to me was, "Why are you so angry?" And I'm like, "What kind of question is that, bro? I'm in prison. My life sucks. You won't shut up. There's a lot of reasons why I'm angry, right?" And he said, "No, man, that's why you're mad. And mad is a surface emotion. Anger cuts to your soul. It runs so much deeper. And you're a very angry young man." And so I couldn't answer that question. And so I started pacing in my little cell, and I finally come to the realization, like, I've been a victim my whole life. That's why I'm so angry. My whole life has been victimhood, which has led me to this lifelong stint in prison. And I figure I'm going to die in prison. I like, this is what my life is worth. This is what I've amounted to in my life. That's why I'm so angry, because I didn't do anything as a kid. I didn't do anything to deserve the abuse that I went through that turned me into the monster that I am and the person that I'm going to be for the rest of my life. And he broke through and showed me that, like, you don't have to be that, right? Like, just because you endured trauma doesn't mean that you have to endure trauma. You don't have to keep going, right? You were victimized, but you're not a victim, right? Nobody ever chooses to be a victim, but every single one of us choose to remain victims. We don't have to remain in that victim mentality, right? You're a survivor. You have survived the worst thing this world could throw at you. And now being a survivor also doesn't make you special. Everybody is a survivor. We've all survived the trauma the world has thrown at us. It's what you choose to do with that survival and what you choose to do with that trauma that defines how your life is going to look. So if you want to turn around and blame all this trauma, all this abuse on why you are currently living the way that you're living, that's your choice, right? You don't have to live that. You can also choose to take those experiences, that trauma, that victimization, and use that as a catalyst to become stronger, to become wiser, to learn lessons from it, and to use it as a launch pad to become better, to become greater than what you are currently. And I mean, that was just mind blowing for me. Like, I didn't even think that was possible. I still didn't think it was possible in the moment. Right. And then he sent me over the book, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And reading that book really changed my outlook on life because of who Viktor Frankl was and what he endured and what he went through. And if you're not familiar with the story, you should definitely look into it. Viktor Frankl was a Jewish man that lived over, I think in Germany, and he had a beautiful family, beautiful business. And then one day the Nazis kicked his door in, took him and his whole family off to Auschwitz. And he's watching his friends and his family and everybody that he knows being exterminated and tortured and experimented on. And the whole time he is in a positive mindset. He's trying to uplift the people around him, telling them, when we can no longer control our environment, we're challenged to control this. Right? They can take all of this away from us, but the one thing they cannot take away from us, the last of man's great freedom, is choice. You get to choose how you see things, how you view things, your perspective. You get to choose your mindset. And then the line, suffering ceases to be suffering the moment you give it a meaning. or the moment you give it a purpose, such as the meaning of sacrifice, right? That delineates that line. We can choose to take our suffering and the pain that we have been through and allow it to cripple us and debilitate us going through life, or we can take that suffering and give it a purpose, give it a meaning. And then it's no longer suffering. Now it's the ingredient for your greatness and the way that you're going to move forward in life. And having that knowledge, but I don't know that anybody that comes to that conclusion that says, you know what, now I'm just going to continue to suffer and just be a piece of trash my whole life. It's that knowledge just hits you like a brick. And it's like, man, you're right. I can do something greater in my life. I can use these experiences to maybe help somebody else learn and understand that you don't have to walk this path just because you've been traumatized. It's all part of this experience that we have called life. And it doesn't have to destroy you. It might put you down, but it doesn't have to break you. You're not broken. You're just adapting. You're learning to become. Right. And that's what really started the metamorphosis for me, going down that path and learning how to rebuild myself, find self-worth, find forgiveness of myself, find forgiveness of others, and just architect going forward and how to live a better life.
Right. Absolutely. That's great, bro. So what did you say you got going on now? I know you said something earlier about like you linked up with the law enforcement or something to help kids. What you doing now?
Yeah. So last year when I first got out of prison back in 2016, I went to work. I was doing demolition in the union in Cleveland. I moved to Cleveland, Ohio. And then I got into the music scene and I did really well in music. I got signed to a label relatively quickly. I started touring, doing small shows at small venues around the East Coast of the US and develop a following. And then COVID hit, so we couldn't do that anymore. And I started YouTubing. That's when I saw No Life Shaq doing a music reaction. And I was like, what is this? Like, this guy's got 1 million subscribers on YouTube. At the time, he just crossed 1 million. And I'm like, from just watching music, like, I can do that. So I went downstairs, fired up the webcam. I didn't even know what I was doing. And then I did a reaction video and I got a lot of traction off of that. And so I did another one and another one. And then within 30 days, I got 10,000 subscribers. I'm monetized on YouTube and I've got money coming in, like, wow. So then I started podcasting. Like, let's talk about trauma. Let's talk about abuse. Let's talk about how you can live a better life from whatever you've been through. And that had led to meeting people in the industry that work in that space. And if we fast forward to now, I moved out to California 5 years ago. I wrote my book. I started a nonprofit organization, and I started mentoring juveniles in the juvenile facility here in Riverside County, and working at schools with at-risk youth, middle schools, high schools, teen centers, and going through those processes, you meet people. And I met these guys in this organization called Operation Lightshine. And what they do is they fund law enforcement agencies that fight this crime type through what's called an intercept task force. And when I saw that, I'm like, I have to be a part of this. This is like, I was one of those kids. I need to help however I can in this. So we flew out to Jacksonville and I got to see an actual task force operation over a 3-day period and how that actually looked. And I'm in, like, I can't look away knowing that this crime exists on the level I didn't even know it existed on, right? Like, I knew it happened, but I didn't know the level, right? Bro, there's 450 million pieces of content of child sex abuse material that are manufactured every year. And it's just getting worse and worse with the advent of AI and technology. It's just getting worse. I mean, they're seizing 50 terabytes of images and videos of these kids being abused. It's so horrible. It's the fastest growing crime in the world. And it's one of the hardest ones to fight. And so I worked with Operation Lightshine for a while. We did a couple of events, but then I discovered this organization called Our Rescue. And what they're doing is amazing. It's really survivor centered. They're focused on helping survivors learn how to overcome that very trauma, and how to make meaning out of their life, how to feel safe, how to find dignity, how to find integrity. And that is just, I cannot do anything else in my life except focus on this. I feel, again, Viktor Frankl comes back to my mind. Suffering ceases to be suffering the moment you give it a purpose. This is my purpose. This is the reason that I used to think that I went through all that victimization and trauma so that I could be a world-class piece of trash. and realizing that I went through all of that trauma so I could help save lives, so that I could help
Right.
other people realize that what you have been through is not the author of what you're going to go through, right? And you can turn this around. And so that's where I'm at, man. I'm totally dedicated to it, and I'm so excited to jump in and help save these lives, right?
Yeah, hey man, that's a great way of thinking. Because when I first got out, I used to be like that, like just kind of upset and like, damn, I really just lost all these years of my life. But when this started taking place, and I get hundreds and hundreds of messages, emails, Bill, thank you. Listening to that this happened, it made me stop selling drugs. Or my son done went to college, he stopped doing this. I realized how important these videos really is. And had I never spent that 9 years away, I wouldn't be able to do this because I wouldn't know what it feel like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Those messages that you get, that comes from a real human being that you are impacting, right? And dude, it's the most noble cause that I can think of, man. And I'm so grateful that you do it, man. Thank you so much for what you do, bro. It makes a difference, dude. You're saving lives, man.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you too for speaking up. Let me ask you this. Where could we find your book, your content? What's the name of, you got a website, whatever, like give me some information.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone through learning technology and learning how to design websites and keep them up and running. So some things go south crazily, but my book is available on Amazon. You can get it online at barnesandnobles.com. It's called Hey White Boy, Conversations of Redemption. It's right here. And you can grab it there, but you can also go to SonnyVonCleveland.com, or you can just Google SonnyVonCleveland. I'm on all websites. I'm on all platforms, or not websites, but I'm on all platforms except X. I don't like X, but I'm everywhere else, right? And I'm available. As you see, I respond to comments. I respond to DMs, because I don't ever want to be that guy that isn't there to help somebody, right? And we can all take a couple seconds out of our lives to respond to somebody.
Absolutely. When we get off, if you don't mind, send me the Amazon link to your book. And when I'm done with this video and it's time to upload it, I'll put it in my description. So if somebody just want to click on it real quick. Before we get out of here, no, absolutely, no problem. I want to ask you this one thing, man. If you had a bunch of teenagers or just younger people sitting in front of you, let's just say thousands of people, and they are on the wrong path that you can see is probably could potentially lead them to prison, or if you're speaking to some teenagers that has endured any form of sexual abuse, there's two different people, but I would like for you to give a word, just whatever is, on your heart for them.
It's not your fault that you have been through victimization, traumatization. There is no shame. You carry no shame. You carry no guilt. And it takes more courage to speak about it than it does to not speak about it. And you can use the experiences that you have been through to save lives and change your lives right now, whatever stage you're in. If you're 14, 15, 16, you can save somebody's life. You have more value than what you give yourself. And forgiveness is your secret sauce to everything in life. You are worthy of the greatest life that you can imagine. And I promise you that comes through the vessel of service, right? When you learn to serve other people, your life can be as abundant as you want it to. Selfish advancement is only going to last for a very minimal amount of time, but authentic service is a legacy that will live long after you are gone from this earth, right? Think, stop and think, right? The momentary pleasure of something is not worth the legacy that you will leave behind. And that's your choice.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely, bro. That was put together very well.
Yeah, man. Listen, your voice is needed too, man. If you want to continue in this space, let's keep the conversation going long after this, man. I'd love to get your voice out there too, right? It takes all of us. We are the ones that will fix it. There's no saviors coming. We're the ones that have to fix it.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, bro. I'm gonna send you my number, bro. We can keep in touch, whatever. I actually got family in like the Los Angeles area.
Yeah.
So I shoot out there sometime from time to time.
Come on out. I got some friends. You're in Georgia?
Yeah, I'm about 30 minutes from Atlanta.
I got some, man. Listen, if you're not familiar with Ben Owen and the people over at We Fight Monsters in Memphis, he lives in Atlanta, outside of Atlanta, but he works out of listen, this man, legends, right? These are legendary people. We're talking former heroin addict, crackhead, dope fiend, bottom of the barrel in Memphis that got out, went to Atlanta, got clean, and went back into the trenches, and now buys up the trap houses and turns them into sober living homes, has turned the drug dealers into drug counselors, has turned the brothel houses into safe homes for women. Bro, you can turn this around at any moment. There are some super legends out there, bro, and I would love to connect you, man, for real.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Yeah, let's do it, bro. I'm gonna shoot you my number and send me the link to your Amazon thing.
You got it. As a matter of fact, I'll grab it up as soon as you're done recording. I'll jump on there and grab it for you.
All right, I'm gonna end the recording right now. What's up, brother? What's up, sister? My name Bill. I went to prison when I was 19 for making poor decisions. Spent 9 years, got out at the age of 28. During my time in prison, I've seen and been around people that were sexually assaulted. I've seen murders with my own 2 eyes, brutal murders, people getting stabbed up. I've seen so much corruption. I've seen people get so depressed and commit suicide. My brothers and sisters, I'm just encouraging y'all to the best of your ability, try to do the right thing, man. Stay out them jails, stay out them prisons. It's not worth it because you could go in and never make it out.